Hello everybody, and what a weekend we have here at Hastings Racecourse. Sunday, 5 major stakes including the BC Oaks and also the BC Derby, the most prestigious race on the card. It's worth $200,000, and to get you in the groove or get you back on track, if you have never seen a Derby, we invited our resident handicapper, Mike Heads, to give you some insight and perhaps get you that winner. Mike, before we look at the BC Derby, which is rapidly approaching, let's look at the contenders from the Richmond Derby Trial.
Yeah, that was a good race. It really stamped Northern Causeway. Veteran trainer Len Kazmierski brought him up. I thought he ran a big race against Glenn Todd and Pat Kinsella's Commander. Those two really did clear off. They had good trips, but they really demonstrated they're going to be a real force on September the 11th.
Northern Causeway by a half. Arraignment right there. Commander is now asked for run in third, followed by Talaki Paki, Stormy Canuck, Jump Up and Kiss Me, Pasquero and Goldfire. 6 furlongs, 112 flat, 3/16 to run. And Northern Causeway, Commander is let loose on the outside. Arraignment back into third. 1/8 of a mile to run. Northern Causeway and Commander, their heads apart. Arraignment in third. Jump Up and Kiss Me and Pasquero. Northern Causeway's on the inside. Commander's on the outside. Northern Causeway to score in the Derby trial. Commander will be second.
So Mike, let's look at those contenders.
Well, we'll start with Northern Causeway, he's a pretty nice horse. He showed it down south at Pleasanton. He really showed he was going to handle the regular dirt. Didn't know how much he really liked the poly track or the Tapeta at Golden Gate, but not a big horse. I couldn't believe it when I saw him. He's probably not even 15 hands. But he's a keg of dynamite. He's game. He showed it holding off Commander in the stretch. He looks like he's versatile, which is great because the race can come up so many different ways. If you're a one-dimensional speed or closer type horses, those aren't necessarily the ones that win those kind of races. It's the ones that can adapt, and he's definitely a horse that can adapt to any situation. Anton Georgi, I'm sure, will come up and ride again, and you got a pretty classy old dude in Len Kazmierski training a pretty nice horse.
Look at Commander.
Yeah, big, huge horse. A total contrast to Northern Causeway. He was tiny. This guy's about 17.2. He's a big, heavy horse. Seemed to adapt to our track very nicely. I was pretty impressed with his run. Considering it was his first race in a while, I thought it was a very good effort against a very good Northern Causeway in the Derby trial, and it should set him up for a big effort.
Robbie Gilker trained Herbie D.
Yeah, he just finished winning via disqualification on BC Cup Day. Had to battle on the pace that day. He ended up losing to Jump Up and Kiss Me, but he was impeded. He's a horse that's rapidly improving. He does lack experience, but I think the talent is in the package. He's got it in him, but it's just a matter of if this is too much too soon. But we'll see on Sunday, September the 11th, because he is a nice quality horse. He proved that he doesn't need the lead to run a good race, but he is lacking some experience. He is giving up the experience edge to a lot of his rivals, but he is a very gifted individual.
Locally based, locally owned, Peter Redikov's in his glory. How's he look?
Yeah, he's a nice colt too. Another one, I hate to be repetitive with the nice colts, but it shows you the contention in our Derby this year. He's a horse that had his winning streak snapped, unfortunately on a big day like the Canadian Derby day. He ran fourth that day, didn't seem to care for the track at all. It was a very dry, tiring track. I was out in Edmonton that afternoon, and that track isn't for every horse. He liked it the time before. He did win the Count Latham. He won his final start here at Hastings. He's shown he likes the cooking here in Vancouver too, so he's a nice horse, good quality connections, as you mentioned, Peter Redikoff, Craig McPherson. This colt's got a huge chance.
Mike, again, there's a lot of horses from outside the province here, several from Northern California and Washington. Northern Indy comes to mind.
Yeah, good run in the Canadian Derby. I didn't think he really cared for the track. He definitely didn't care for the turns, and I think the turns here at Hastings will definitely favor him. Our turns are far more gradual. He's a big, huge horse. He's a one-run closer. Jerry Algeen, who's visited the winner's circle here at Hastings a lot of times, will be aboard, and that's a big plus in his corner. but he definitely looked the part. I think he just ran second in the Canadian Derby on talent alone, and the race did set him up pretty nicely. They went pretty fast early, but he's a horse that I think will run better in Vancouver than he did in Edmonton, just because of the turns. It seemed like he was struggling on the turns, spinning his wheels and losing ground, and in the straightaways he was rolling. But look for a better effort from Northern Indy. He's a class type horse. He's every bit as good as Northern Causeway, who's also coming from Northern Cal. Eureka, nice easy win in the Emerald Derby. Certainly looked the part, coming from well off the pace. This will be his maiden voyage up north, though, to Hastings. He's going to need a pace on up front, and if he gets it, he could be a real contender, because he did beat a pretty quality field in Seattle a couple weeks back, and he's a horse coming into the race the right way. You want to come in winning and on a roll, and this colt's coming in on a roll. Line Change is a horse that got caught up on a very quick pace in the Canadian Derby. 47-3, 113-4 by Hastings standards is not very quick, but by Edmonton standards, going a mile and 3/8, that's rocking and rolling. And he put away all the speed. He held for third. I know he got beat double digit in lengths, but still he ran a big race. He came right here after the race. Trainer Terry Jordan sent him to John Morrison. He's been training here ever since. He certainly looks the part. He has some schooling issues he's going to have to overcome, because he was a little rude in the paddock in Edmonton, and he's got to not waste anything, because when you're doing that stuff, expanding energy, misbehaving in certain before the race even is on, it's definitely going to take away from your performance, and he definitely did that in Edmonton, and that's why I was so taken by him, that it's for him to still run third after all his theatrics in the paddock was very impressive. And you're cutting back to a mile and 1/8, and being a pace horse, I think it's going to help him a ton as well.
A couple horses that are going to need a break in the Money One department.
France's Finest, Goldfire, those two will definitely need a break. And just to briefly touch on it, that only the top 12 can get in the race on daily racing form earnings at time of entry, and that's career earnings. So France's Finest and Goldfire, both nominated, are both going to need a break. They're going to need some of the higher money earners, one or two of them, to defect. But France's Finest certainly looked good in winning an allowance race a couple weeks back. Kind of stamped himself, got himself back in the Derby race anyway, because he'd kind of fallen off through the summer. He took a trip to Edmonton, didn't fare well back there. Took a little time getting back on track here. Finally come up with a big race, defeated Talaki Paki that day, and in a good time as well. So it kind of got him back on the Derby trail, but he's still going to need some breaks, as is a horse like Goldfire, who will need to, he's probably the lightest. He's going to need quite a few defections. He was a distant fourth behind Northern Causeway and Commander in the Derby trial. Didn't get any breaks early. The pace really didn't help him at all. But he's an unseasoned colt, just a maiden winner. But he's got some game, and if he gets in the race, he may make his presence felt. But he's still going to need some luck to get into the starting gate.
Another horse making the trip up from I-5 is Tim McCann's Winter Warlock.
Yeah, Winter Warlock, been running down in Seattle, been doing quite well there. And anytime Tim McCann brings a horse up here, you better take note. Always one of the leading, usually always the leading trainer down there in Seattle. He's won a pile of races. He's a very, very good horseman. And if he's entertaining coming up here, he's not coming up here because Vancouver's a beautiful city. He's coming up here. There's 200,000 reasons to come up here, and he's definitely going to bring a big contender.
Okay, Mike, I got to put you on the spot. For the record, no off the record, what do you like?
I like Northern Causeway. I was really impressed with him. He's a little horse with a big heart. This guy, he fought off that giant Commander in the Derby trial in his first race up here in Vancouver. He's stayed here since. He's worked back very well. The race seemed to take nothing out of him. He seems to be blossoming at the right time. He's a tractable speed type. I think he's a horse that's going to get in ahead of the deep closers and just in behind the speed, so he should get a perfect trip. William Anton Georgi is a very underrated rider. He's very good. He flies under the radar down in Northern Cal because, of course, of the Hall of Famer Russell Bays winning all the races there. But this William Anton Georgi is a really top-notch rider, and he seems to suit this Northern Causeway very well. I got to go Northern Causeway.